Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My mic's over there. Okay, so we're reading from the Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Still stuck indoors because miserable weather.
Important announcement. These readings on two things. These readings on the YouTube channel will now go out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as opposed to sporadic and a whole load and then nothing. So we're gonna organise it just as it goes out on the Facebook page, like ISKCON London's Facebook page, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. However, the second point of the announcement is at the Facebook page readings will cease at the end of this month, so it'll only be on this YouTube channel, which will be the same as the Facebook page days, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I hope that
so
makes
hopefully
sense.
we'll put a little bit of that somewhere in the text so that you can read it.
It's already in the description
even I know
box.
and I didn't understand it. It's already in the description box.
Yeah, it is.
Saying it finishes on the 31st of December.
No, saying that these readings are on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Oh God. Anyway. Hare Krishna, we're here to read Srimad Bhagavatam.
Alright.
Now we know why we don't make public announcements.
Canto 3, chapter 31, text 18. The movements of the living entity.
Oh yes.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
That was like a lower octave. Right, text 18. My dear Lord, by your causeless mercy, I am awakened to consciousness, although I am only 10 months old. Interesting. 10 months old in the womb. For this causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the friend of all fallen souls, there is no way to express my gratitude but to pray with folded hands. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, intelligence and forgetfulness are both supplied by the supersoul sitting with the individual soul within the body. When he sees that a conditioned soul is very serious about getting out of the clutches of the material influence, the Supreme Lord gives intelligence internally as supersoul and externally as the spiritual master, or as an incarnation of the personality of Godhead himself. He helps by speaking instructions such as Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is always seeking the opportunity to reclaim the fallen souls to his abode, the kingdom of God. We should always feel very much obliged to the personality of Godhead, for he is always anxious to bring us into the happy condition of eternal life. There is no sufficient means to repay the personality of Godhead for his act of benediction. Therefore, we can simply feel gratitude and pray to the Lord with folded hands. This prayer of the child in the womb may be questioned by some atheistic people. How can a child pray in such a nice way in the womb of his mother? Everything is possible by the grace of the Lord. The child is put into such a precarious condition externally, but internally he is the same, and the Lord is there. By the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. I thought the purport would explain the 10 months thing because, yeah, that's an interesting point if anyone, do you know?
Well, I think that although we often say 9 months, but it seems that the 10 month is a standard thing. It's not actually 9 months, but I could be wrong. I remember reading this before and looking into it and hearing that it is actually more like the 10 months thing.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
All right. That's all.
Okay. But if anyone out there has any any nurses, doctors,
Or mothers.
But mothers, mothers.
You might have some insight.
What are they called that help you deliver the baby? Midwives.
Doula.
Huh?
It's called a doula.
A doula. Okay.
No.
Not a doula. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah, like just this last line, by the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. I think this is just a wonderful, like, little positive mantra, you know? Because, of course, in life, you know, we often find things that seem impossible, or situations, circumstances that make us feel like this is impossible. And also, you know, life is full of these, you know, positive mantras and slogans. So this is one that we should keep on board all the time. By the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. So, and when amazing things happen, we can say, just see, by the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. And when terrible things happen to us, just see, by the transcendental energy of the Lord, everything is possible. So, because otherwise we can just focus on God is present only when something good, quote unquote good, happens, and not when something negative.
Yeah.
Okay, text 19. The living entity in another type of body sees only by instinct. He knows only the agreeable and disagreeable sense perceptions of that particular body. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to whom I have blessed with this body,
By
to whom
whom?
I have been blessed with this body,
By
and
whom?
by whom I have been blessed with this
You
body.
said to whom?
Oh, sorry.
Don't make
I'll
sense.
read it again just because it's obviously confusing. But I have a body in which I can control my senses and can understand my destination. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whom I have been blessed with this body, and by whose grace I can see Him within and without. I mean, just that's quite powerful statement. For a 10-month-old baby to be offering a prayer like that is not the way we would normally assess a 10-month-old baby. We'd say this is genius level of consciousness. Which in one sense, because the child is actually praying that he has control over his senses and can understand his destination, can see that this is functioning on the platform of the soul, the pure soul. Whereas now, once we come out of the womb, it's just an onslaught of material energy from 1 second to the next, and a perpetual covering over of that pure, you could say, genius consciousness, which is the omnipotent consciousness of the soul. Because we have access to super soul. I mean, we're parts and parcels of God, and we have access to super soul, which has all knowledge, because super soul is God. Okay, anyway. Purport. The evolutionary process of different types of bodies is something like that of a fructifying flower. Just as there are different stages in the growth of a flower, the bud stage, the blooming stage, and the full-fledged grown-up stage of aroma and beauty, similarly there are 8,400,000 species of bodies in gradual evolution, and there is a systematic progress from lower species of life to the higher. The human form of life is supposed to be the highest, for it offers consciousness for getting out of the clutches of birth and death. The fortunate child in the womb of his mother realizes his superior position is thereby distinguished from other bodies, and Animals and bodies lower than that of the human being are conscious only as far as their bodily distress and happiness are concerned. They cannot think of more than their bodily necessities of life, eating. I think that's, it kind of says life eating, but I don't think it means that. It means their bodily necessities of life.
Yeah, hyphen.
Yeah, but yeah, this hyphen is very short. It looks like one word. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But in the human form of life, by the grace of God, the consciousness is so developed that a man can evaluate his exceptional position and thus realize the self and the Supreme Lord. Yeah, wonderful. Different stages of development of a flower. And it's the same stages of development of our consciousness. And as the baby is praying, he recognizes that he's been blessed with this human body. And in that way is looking forward to the opportunity of rekindling his eternal and dormant relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, yeah, very powerful. Very powerful.
Next paragraph. The word dharmasarire means that we have a body in which we can control the senses and the mind. The complication of materialistic life is due to an uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses. One should feel grateful to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having obtained such a nice human form of body, and one should properly utilize it. The distinction between an animal and a man is that the animal cannot control himself and has no sense of decency, whereas the human being has the sense of decency and can control himself. If this controlling power is not exhibited by the human being, then he is no better than an animal. By controlling the senses or by the process of yoga regulation, one can understand the position of his self, the supersoul, the world, and their interrelation. Everything is possible by controlling the senses. Otherwise, we are no better than animals.
Wow.
Yes, that's true.
What's that? What's true?
That if we don't control their senses, we're no better than animals.
Duparapasha.
Right.
Du, two, pada, feet, pasha, animal. Two-legged animal.
Yeah. It's true though, human beings have a great responsibility. And so if you wander about the place, being led by the senses, losing your mind at the snap of the fingers, whatever, then if you think about it, some animals, cats are very cute and they're like very controlled, you know. If you know cats, then they just sit there. No matter how much you call them, they're not going to come to you. They don't care. That's just cats, you know. It's like, whereas some humans, it's like, you can't make them sit still.
Yes.
Maybe not the best example, but
Good point. It's true. Okay, last paragraph. Real self-realization by means of controlling the senses is explained here. One should try to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one's own self also. To think oneself the same as the Supreme is not self-realization. Here it is clearly explained that the Supreme Lord is Anadi, or Purana. And he has no other cause. The living entity is born of the Supreme Godhead as part and parcel. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Anadir, Adir, Govinda. Govinda, the Supreme Person, has no cause. He is unborn. But the living entity is born of him, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Vamsa. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord are unborn, but it has to be understood that the supreme cause of the part and parcel is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma Samhita therefore says that everything has come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva Karana Karanam. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this also. Janmad Yasya Yataha. The Absolute Truth is the original source of everyone's birth. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, or Prabhava. I am the source of birth. I am the source of birth of everything, including Brahma and Lord Shiva and the living entities. This is self-realization. One should know that he is under the control of the Supreme Lord and not think that he is fully independent. Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? Otherwise, why should he be put into conditional life? So the Supreme Lord is unborn. And he's also the source of everything. And so he gave us his birth. We should be grateful and respectful, acknowledging that, remembering that, and simultaneously trying our best to repay him, and by using or utilizing any talent, skills, abilities, or whatever comes to us back in his service, like that. And that's bhakti.
Yes.
It's true.
I like this point. The living entities born of the Supreme Godhead is part and parcel. Because like you were saying in the verse that this baby is speaking so eloquently, but it's not the baby as such. It's not the baby speaking. It's a very old spirit soul who happens to be in the outfit, you could say, of a baby. Like when you do fancy dress and you wear this outfit and that outfit, but the person inside is extremely old. So if we were like, who is it? Was it Dhruva Maharaj, when he was saying after his austerities and he met Lord Vishnu, and then he's just a kid, Prabhupada explains, but then Lord Vishnu touched him on the head with a conch, and so the touch of the Lord, and then it brought him to his senses, as it were. So then he very eloquently, with the intelligence of the spirit soul, spoke so wonderfully. So it was just when I just read that line, it just reminded me myself as well that you're a bit more than what you are focusing on, which is just this body, and then just the people associated with it, or just my interactions, my who I am seeing here, interactions with my little universal world. There's such an intelligent, eternal, loving person, and I was thinking, if we just focus on those qualities more, how wonderful life would be for us and others. But
of course, not just focusing on it on ourselves, but focusing on it, seeing that in others also. I don't mean it in a self-centered way, but just how different, like Prabhupada has said in one of his purports, that to interact on the soul spiritual level as opposed to on the material level, just how different our up here, the mind, which is always causing so much problems, our outlook would be, and subsequently how we would therefore improve our interactions with others. Just on rejigging that mentality. Look, this hair always does that, doesn't it? Just totally disregarding everything I just said, and I just look at my hair. Just rejigging,
Rejigging my hair.
Jigging my body.
Just what was a good point.
Good thing you're a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna.
Yes.
Inside that rejigged body.
Let's hope I got a decent hairstyle.
Hey, Bhagavan.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Please read Srimad Bhagavatam, and remember to look at the announcements so you know when we'll be putting stuff out. And if you have any comments along the way or questions.
Put it in the comments. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, that's it. That's all you got to remember. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That's all you have to remember. Please remember Krishna.
Yeah.
Don't forget him. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.